I stood in the middle of my parents' living room with blood dripping down my face from a shattered glass my sister-in-law just broke over my head. And my own mother's first reaction wasn't to call an ambulance, but to tell me I should apologize for upsetting the woman who just robbed me. I thought losing my great-grandmother's priceless heirlooms was the ultimate betrayal, but I had no idea my own brother was already outside, bribing witnesses and forging evidence to send me to jail for his wife's crimes. If you think your family is toxic, wait until you see the lengths mine went to destroy my life just to fund a wedding reception. Looking back, I should have seen this coming. My family always loved my brother David more than me. David was the golden boy. He could do nothing wrong. When he started dating Emily, things got even worse. Emily loved expensive things. She loved fancy clothes, big parties, and looking rich. The problem was she didn't have any money. David didn't have any money either. But they wanted a wedding that looked like it cost $1 million. 2 weeks ago, my great-grandmother's earrings went missing. They were beautiful gold earrings with bright blue stones. They were the only things I had left of her. I kept them in a small box in my bedroom. When I saw the box was empty, my heart stopped. I felt sick. I knew I didn't lose them. I never even took them out of the house. Luckily, I had a small hidden camera in my room. I bought it months ago because my things kept moving around. I pulled up the video on my phone and my jaw dropped. There was Emily. She was sneaking into my room. She looked around to see if anyone was watching. Then she opened my jewelry box, grabbed the earrings, and stuffed them into her pocket. She had a huge smile on her face. I felt so much anger. How could she? I went to my parents' house for Sunday dinner, thinking my family would help me. I thought they would be on my side. Emily, I know you took them, I said. I tried to keep my voice calm, but I was shaking. I have you on video. Give them back right now. The room went dead quiet. Emily didn't even look ashamed. She looked at David, then back at me. I can't give them back, she said. She sounded like she was talking about the weather. I pawned them. We needed the cash for the flowers and the band for the wedding. You weren't using them anyway. They were just sitting in a box. I couldn't believe my ears. You stole my heritage for flowers? Those were the only things I had from Grandma. Don't yell at her, David shouted. He stood up and put his arm around Emily. We are a family. We are supposed to help each other. You have plenty of money. Why are you being so mean about some old jewelry? It's not about the money, David. It's theft. I screamed. That's when it happened. Emily's face twisted in rage. She didn't like being called a thief. She grabbed a wine glass from the table. Before I could move, she slapped me hard across the face and then, crack. She smashed the glass right over my head. The pain was sharp and hot. I felt something warm running down my forehead and into my eye. Everything went blurry. I touched my face and my hand came back red. I was bleeding. I was hurt. I was scared. I looked at my mom, waiting for her to hug me or call for help, but she just looked at Emily with pity. Then she looked at me with a frown. Look what you did, Sarah, my mom said. You made her so upset that she lost her temper. You need to apologize for ruining the mood. You're making a scene over nothing. Just say you're sorry so we can finish dinner. I stared at her. My own mother saw me bleeding and wanted me to apologize to the person who hit me. No, I whispered. I'm not apologizing. I'm calling the police. David's face went pale. You wouldn't dare. If you call the cops, Emily will go to jail. It will ruin the wedding. Think about the family name. The family name is already ruined, I said, reaching for my phone with shaking fingers. The police arrived 10 minutes later. They saw the blood. They saw the broken glass. They saw the video of the theft on my phone. They handcuffed Emily right there in the living room. She was screaming and crying, calling me every bad name you can think of. David was right behind her, shouting that I would pay for this. As they led her away, David looked at me. It wasn't a look of sadness. It was a look of pure hate. You think you won? He hissed. You have no idea what's coming for you. By the time I'm done, everyone will think you're the criminal, not her. He ran out the door to follow the police car. My parents wouldn't even look at me. They just started cleaning up the broken glass, acting like I wasn't even there. I stood there alone, bleeding and heartbroken, wondering how things could get any worse. I went to the hospital to get stitches. The doctor was kind, but I felt like a ghost. I kept thinking about what David said. He sounded so sure of himself. I thought the truth was on my side. I had the video. I had the physical injuries. What could he possibly do? The next morning, I got a text from my brother. It was short and cold. I just bailed her out. We told the police the truth. You're in big trouble, Sarah. You should have just stayed quiet. I felt a chill run down my spine. I didn't know what he meant, but I knew my brother. He was a liar and he was very good at it. I decided right then that I wasn't going to let them win. I was going to fight back. But as I walked out of the hospital, I saw David's car parked across the street. He wasn't alone. He was talking to my cousin Mark and my Aunt Sue. They were laughing and looking at some papers in a folder. When Mark saw me, he didn't wave. He looked away like he was ashamed to know me. That's when I realized David wasn't just trying to protect his wife. He was building a wall of lies, and he was using my own family to do it. I went home and locked my doors. I felt like I was being hunted. I tried to call my mom, but she didn't answer. I tried to call my dad, and he just told me to stop causing drama before hanging up. I was completely on my own. A few days later, a man in a suit knocked on my door. He didn't look like a friend. He handed me a stack of papers. "You've been served," he said. I opened the papers and my heart dropped into my stomach. It wasn't just about the earrings anymore. David and Emily were suing me for assault. And that wasn't the worst part. There was a police report attached. In it, 3 members of my family claimed that I was the one who attacked Emily, and that the earrings were actually a gift I had promised her months ago. They were turning my life upside down, and they were just getting started. I stared at those legal papers until my eyes burned. My own brother, David, was telling the world I was the bad guy. He wasn't just lying. He was building a whole new world where I was a monster and his wife, Emily, was a saint. It felt like I was living in a nightmare where up was down and left was right. I sat on my floor and cried until I couldn't breathe. My head hurt from the stitches, but my heart hurt much more. The phone rang. It was my mother. For a second, I thought she was calling to say sorry. I thought she finally saw the blood on the floor and realized she was wrong. "Sarah," she said, her voice sounding tired but firm. "I saw the papers. Why are you making David do this? If you just tell the police you gave Emily those earrings as a gift, this all goes away. We can be a happy family again." "A gift?" I yelled. "Mom, she stole them. He pawned them. And then she hit me with a glass. How can you ask me to lie for her? She was stressed about the wedding." Mom said like that made it okay. "David says you're being greedy. He says you're trying to ruin their big day because you're jealous. If you don't fix this, I don't think I can talk to you anymore. You're tearing this family apart." Then she hung up. My own mother chose a thief over her own daughter. I realized then that I wasn't just fighting Emily and David. I was fighting my whole past. I knew I couldn't just sit there. I had to get a lawyer. I found a woman named Maria who was very smart and very tough. I showed her the video from my bedroom. I showed her the photos of my bloody face. "This is good," Maria said, "but your brother is playing dirty. He told the police that you attacked Emily first. He even has witnesses. Your Aunt Sue and your cousin Mark both signed papers saying you hit Emily and then broke the glass yourself to blame her." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach, but they weren't even in the room when it happened. They were in the kitchen. "It doesn't matter," Maria said. "They are lying for him. We need to stay strong." A week later, David tried a new trick. He sent me a bunch of screenshots of text messages. In the messages, it looked like I was saying, "Hey Emily, you can have grandma's earrings. Use the money for the wedding flowers. I want you to have them." I stared at the screen. I never wrote those words. Never. Not in a million years. David had used a computer program to make fake messages. He was trying to frame me for a lie. "He's gaslighting me," I told Maria. "He's trying to make me look crazy." "He's doing more than that," she replied. "He's trying to send you to jail for filing a false police report. He wants you out of the way so he can have everything." Every day the pressure got worse. People from my family called me and left mean voicemails. They called me a liar. They called me a family killer. I stopped going on social media because I couldn't bear to see the photos of David and Emily at wedding dress fittings, looking happy while my life was falling apart. But then I found something David didn't know I had. I was looking through some old boxes from my grandmother's house. I found a small blue folder. Inside was a letter from a bank I didn't recognize. It was a letter addressed to my grandmother about a trust fund. It said there was a large amount of money set aside for the grandchildren. I was a grandchild. David was a grandchild. But I had never heard a single word about this money. Not from my parents and certainly not from David. I looked at the dates. The bank had been sending letters to my parents' house for years. Why didn't they tell me? I called the bank. "Hello, I'm Sarah. I'm calling about my grandmother's trust." The woman on the phone was quiet for a minute. "Oh yes, we've been working with the executor of the estate, David. He's been moving some funds around lately. He told us you didn't want to be involved with the money." My blood turned to ice. David wasn't just stealing my earrings. He was stealing my future. He was using our grandmother's money that belonged to me too, to pay for his fancy life and his expensive wedding. And my parents had to know. They had to be helping him hide it. Now I knew why they wanted me to be quiet. If I went to the police, if I started a big legal fight, people might start looking at the money. They were scared I would find out the truth. "I want a full report of every dollar spent," I told the bank woman. "I'll send it right over," she said. When the papers arrived, I almost fainted. David had spent thousands and thousands of dollars. He spent it on cars, on trips, and yes, on Emily's giant diamond ring. He was draining the account until there was almost nothing left. I took the papers to Maria. Her eyes went wide. "Sarah, this is huge," she said. "This isn't just a small fight anymore. This is a crime. Your brother didn't just bribe witnesses. He's been stealing from you for years. What do we do now? I asked. I was shaking, but for the first time I wasn't just sad. I was angry. I was ready to fight. We go to trial, Maria said. We let him bring his fake witnesses. We let him show his fake text. And then we pull the rug out from under him. But David had one more surprise for me. The night before the trial, I heard a noise outside my window. I looked out and saw David standing by my car. He was holding a heavy rock. He looked up at my window, and even in the dark I could see his mean smile. He didn't throw the rock. He just laid it on my hood and walked away. It was a message. He wanted me to know he could get to me whenever he wanted. He wanted me to be too scared to show up in court the next morning. I sat in the dark, clutching the bank papers to my chest. I thought about the blood on my face. I thought about the earrings that were gone forever. I thought about my grandmother and how much she loved me. He wouldn't want me to be scared. She would want me to be brave. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I just watched the sun come up. I put on my best suit. I covered the scar on my forehead with a little bit of makeup, but not all of it. I wanted the judge to see what they did to me. As I walked into the courthouse, I saw my whole family sitting on one side of the room. My mom, my dad, Aunt Sue, and Mark. They were all whispering and pointing at me. David and Emily sat at the front, holding hands. Emily was wearing a white dress, acting like she was already a bride. David turned around and winked at me. He thought he had already won. He thought his lies were too big to fail. He had no idea that I wasn't the same girl he hit in the living room. I sat down at my table and looked straight ahead. The judge walked in and everyone stood up. My heart was beating like a drum in my chest. Case number 402, the judge said. The state versus Emily and the civil matter of Sarah versus David. The trial was starting. David's lawyer stood up first. He held up a phone and started talking about the sweet gift-giving messages I had sent to Emily. He called Aunt Sue to the stand, and I watched as she told a total lie with a straight face. I looked at Maria. She whispered, "Wait for it. Let them dig their own hole." But as Aunt Sue kept talking, she said something that made the whole room go silent. Something that even David didn't expect her to say. Aunt Sue sat in the witness chair and looked at me like I was a bug she wanted to squash. She told the judge that I was a troubled girl. She said she saw me hand the earrings to Emily with a big smile. She even said she heard me say, "Please take these. I want your wedding to be perfect." I felt like I was going to throw up. How could she say that? She was my favorite aunt. She used to bake me cookies. Now she was telling huge lies to protect David. But then David's lawyer asked her one more question. Did Sarah seem angry that night at dinner? Aunt Sue leaned forward. He wanted to be dramatic. Oh, she was more than angry. She told us if we didn't give her the money David promised her from the secret bank account, she would make up a story about Emily stealing the jewelry. The room went dead quiet. David's face turned from a smug smile to a look of pure terror. He started coughing loudly, trying to get Sue to stop talking. Even Emily looked like she wanted to hide under the table. My lawyer, Maria, stood up so fast her chair almost tipped over. A secret bank account? Thank you, Aunt Sue. I have no more questions for this witness, but I have a lot of questions for the next one. David's lawyer tried to fix it. He tried to say Sue was just confused, but it was too late. The word secret was out. The judge looked very interested now. He leaned over his desk and looked at David. "Call the next witness," the judge said. His voice was like ice. Maria called my cousin Mark to the stand. Mark looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. He kept looking at David, and David was shaking his head, no, over and over. "Mark," Maria said, "David gave you money last week, didn't he?" "No," Mark shouted, but his voice cracked. "Mark, you are under oath. If you lie here, you go to jail. We have David's bank records. We see a payment to you for $5,000 2 days after the arrest. Why did he give you that money?" Mark looked at the judge. He looked at the police officers in the room. He started to cry. "He told me he'd pay for my car. He said Sarah was rich and didn't need the money. He told me what to say. He said if I didn't help him, the whole family would go broke." "So you didn't see Sarah hit Emily?" Maria asked. "No," Mark sobbed. "I was in the kitchen. I just heard the glass break. When I ran in, Sarah was already bleeding and Emily was laughing." My mother gasped from the back of the room. I looked at her. She had her hand over her mouth. For the first time she looked like she felt bad, but I didn't care. It was too late for her sorry looks. Then came the biggest moment of the day. Maria brought out a computer expert. He held up a big screen so everyone could see. He showed the text messages David had given to the police. The ones that said I gifted the earrings. "These messages are fake," the expert said. "They were made on a laptop 3 days after the theft. Look here." He pointed to a tiny line of code. "The time and date were changed by hand. Sarah never sent these. These are digital lies." The judge looked at the screen. Then he looked at David. David looked like he was about to faint. Emily was crying now, but not because she was sorry. She was crying because she knew she was caught. "There is more," Maria said. She handed the judge the blue folder I found in the old box. "This is the trust fund from the grandmother. My client, Sarah, was never told about it. David has been the one in charge. He has stolen over $50,000 from Sarah's share to pay for this wedding and Emily's lifestyle. The judge started flipping through the pages. Every time he turned a page, his face got redder. He looked at the receipts for the flowers, the dress, and the fancy cars, all paid for with money that was supposed to be mine. David, the judge said, stand up. David stood up. His legs were shaking. He looked like a small, scared boy, not the big golden boy who broke my life. I have seen a lot of bad things in this court, the judge said, but I have never seen a brother try to send his own sister to jail to cover up his own greed. You didn't just lie. You tried to destroy her. I was just trying to help my wife. David cried out. By stealing from your sister? By bribing your family to lie for you? The judge shook his head. I am dismissing all charges against Sarah, but I am not done. The judge looked at the police officers standing by the door. I want David arrested right now. He is being charged with fabrication of evidence, witness bribery, and grand theft of a trust fund. The sound of the handcuffs clicking was the loudest thing I ever heard. Emily tried to run to him, but the police pushed her back. You're going too, lady, one of the cops said. You still have a theft and assault case to finish. My parents ran to the front of the room. My mom tried to grab my arm. Sarah, please, tell them to stop. He's your brother. We can fix this at home. I pulled my arm away. I looked her right in the eyes. The blood from the glass was gone, but the scar was still there. I pointed to it. You told me to apologize while I was bleeding on your floor, I said. You chose him. Now you can go visit him in jail. I walked out of that courtroom. The sun was shining so bright it hurt my eyes. Maria followed me out. We won, Sarah, she said. The judge ordered a freeze on all their accounts. You're getting every penny back. And the earrings? We found where they were pawned. The police are getting them back for you today. I should have felt happy. I should have felt like dancing. But I just felt empty. I had my money. I had my earrings. But I didn't have a family anymore. I was an orphan with a full bank account. I went to my car. I saw the rock David had left on my hood. I picked it up and threw it as far as I could into the grass. I wasn't scared of him anymore. But as I drove home, I realized something. David wasn't the only one who knew about the trust fund. My parents had signed some of those papers too. They didn't just look the other way. They helped him steal from me. I stopped at a red light and looked at my phone. I had 20 missed calls from my mom. I had 10 from my dad. I didn't open a single one. Instead, I opened a travel app on my phone. I looked at pictures of blue water and white sand. I looked at places where nobody knew my name and nobody would ever ask me to apologize for being hurt. I had a lot of money now, more than I ever thought, and I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. I packed my bags that night. I didn't take much. I left the furniture. I left the TV. I only took my clothes, my camera, and my grandmother's earrings, which the police dropped off at 6 p.m. They were still beautiful. They still sparkled. I was ready to leave this toxic life behind forever. But just as I was locking my front door, I saw a pair of headlights pull into my driveway. It was my father's car. He didn't look angry this time. He looked broken. He got out of the car and walked up to me holding an old, dusty envelope. Sarah, he whispered, before you go, you need to see this. David wasn't just stealing for the wedding. There's something else he was hiding. Something about why Grandma really left you that money. I took the envelope from my father's shaking hand. I didn't want to talk to him, but I needed to know the truth. I opened it and saw a letter written by my great-grandmother. It was dated just 1 month before she passed away. The letter said that she knew David was a liar. He saw how he used people. She wrote that the trust fund was mostly for me because she knew I had a good heart. She wanted me to have the money so I could be free from a family that only cared about how things looked. We knew about the letter, Sarah, my father whispered. David told us if we didn't help him hide it, he would tell the police about your mother's old tax problems. He was blackmailing us. We were scared. We thought if we just helped him get through the wedding, he would stop. I looked at my father. He looked so small and weak. You were scared of him, so you let him destroy me? I asked. My voice didn't shake. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just done. You saw him break a glass over my head and you did nothing. You were just as bad as he is. Please, Sarah, he said, tears in his eyes. Don't leave like this. Goodbye, Dad, I said. I got into my car and drove away. I didn't look back in the mirror. I didn't want to see him standing there. A few weeks later, the final court dates happened. I didn't even go. My lawyer, Maria, called me with the news. Emily was found guilty of theft and assault. He had to go to jail for a year. The wedding was canceled, obviously. David was in even more trouble because he lied in court and tried to bribe Mark and Aunt Sue. The judge gave him 5 years in prison. He also had to pay back every single cent he stole from my trust fund. Since David had already spent the money, the court took his house and his expensive car to pay me back. He lost everything. He lost his wife, his home, his freedom, and his sister. I sat on a beach far away from that cold living room. The sand was white and the water was a beautiful blue, just like the stones in my grandmother's earrings. I reached up and touched them. They were back on my ears where they belonged. I felt a weight lift off my chest. For years I tried so hard to make my family love me. I tried to be the perfect daughter and the perfect sister. I thought if I was nice enough they would treat me right. But you can't fix people who don't want to be fixed. I took a deep breath of the salty air. I had my inheritance now. I had enough money to live a good life and never have to worry again. But the money wasn't the best part. The best part was the quiet. No more screaming. No more lies. No more feeling like I wasn't good enough. I pulled out my phone and did something I should have done a long time ago. I changed my number. I deleted my old social media accounts. I cut the last string that tied me to those people. My family tried to use me to fund a party, but they ended up losing everything instead. They thought they could break me, but they only made me stronger. I looked out at the ocean and smiled. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a survivor. I stood up and walked toward the water. The sun was warm on my skin. I thought about my great-grandmother and the letter she wrote. She wanted me to be free, and finally I was